Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today, Kabam has announced Alliance Quest Season 7 Latverian Infiltration. As always, if you want to skip the read aloud, there will be a timestamp in the description below, a link to the spreadsheet that I use when I discuss rewards, and a timestamp if you just want to skip to the rewards part and my thoughts on that. That said, first things first is the read aloud. So you've put an end to the Mad Titan's wrath, but now there are reports that Dr. Doom has taken over a part of the battle realm. Your alliance is needed to investigate the situation. Prepare for a Latverian infiltration. It's once again time to refresh Alliance Quest with new challenges and a refresh to the Glory Store because Season 7 of Alliance Quest starts March 22nd. New encounters, boss, and mini-bosses. At the end of your expedition into Latveria, you'll be faced with the ruler of the nation, Dr. Doom. You'll fight him across all 7 maps, but as he takes the boss spot, we'll be changing some of the mini-bosses across all of the maps. So map 7 will have 500% champion boost, 300% health, warning, heavy hitter, buff toggle, unstoppable 1, Hazaroth Vengeance, and Hazaroth Rage. So we've got some nodes here we haven't quite seen before. I don't think if we have seen them, feel free to pin me with a comment or something, because I'm not familiar with these, but I'll slowly scroll through so you can read it depending on what map you're on. But without actual node information here, me just saying it out loud isn't going to do you too much help. The rest of the map, map 1 we'll see Guillotine swapped out for Diablo. Map 2, Vision will be swapped out for Namor. Map 3, King Groot will be swapped for Squirrel Girl. Map 4, Proxima Midnight will be swapped for Silver Surfer. Map 5, Hyperion will be swapped for Human Torch. Scarlet Witch will be swapped for Mr. Fantastic. Dormammu will be swapped for Nova on map 6. Ebony Maw for Invisible Woman. And on map 7, Omega Red will be swapped for Thing. As far as the buffs on all of those, you're gonna have to click the link if you want to check those out below. And here's an enlarged version for just a brief moment at least. For what you're looking at. Let me turn off my display. There you go. You can pause and back. So as far as everything else, we have a new variation for map 6. So for the first time ever, they've added variations to map 6. That means that you can look forward to a more dynamic series of challenges. New minions. Say goodbye to drones, sentinels, and symbioids. Doom has no use for them when he has an army of Doombots. Doombots will be taking the place of all 3 of these minions at launch. Symbioids and Ultron drones will return in the future. More Alliance Quest modifiers. We're adding 3 more possible Alliance Quest modifiers to the pool of modifiers for each of the 3 difficulties. Your alliance will still only be able to choose out of 5 modifiers each week, but they will be randomly selected out of the 8 available. So for normal buffs, we see crit resistance, energy resistance, power focus 2. Heroic buffs, force of will, hit me, I dare you, and tranquility. And for master buffs, we see explosive personality, kinetic transference, and personal space. Rewards and glory store updates, I'll touch on this in a separate comment. Overall, it's a spreading out of rewards and a glory store update. Prepare your alliance of summoners. This update is coming. Hey, perfect timing. Noah Pritchard, you get a permanent shout out in this video. But for the rest, prepare your alliance's summoners. This update is coming your way soon. The new season of Alliance Quest starts on March 22nd. So that said, I'll put a timestamp here for those of you who just want my thoughts, and I want to go over just the regular things first. So first off, Doom. For Thanos, I'm of the opinion that Dr. Doom is going to be a way harder boss fight than Thanos. Just personally, but it really just depends on once we get there and how it goes overall. I really, can't say for sure. I do got to say, my gut instinct here is I don't see heal reversal. So I don't know, or heal prevention, which is a notable node that Thanos had that made him fairly challenging and nixed a lot of potential options. Doom has some challenging mechanics to him that Thanos really didn't have. Doom's special 2 is a lot worse. His special 1 is a lot harder to dodge as well. But once you get the hang of that, it's not too bad. But being able to heal means that we'll see like the return of Nick Fury for boss takedowns, etc. And Doom being Mystic, we might see people bringing Human Torch just to take him down as well. Overall, I think there are pros and cons, and it really comes down to like what Hazaroth Vengeance and Hazaroth Rage is, because if that's like heal prevention in itself, that's going to be proper frustrating as well. But I'm kind of hoping that with like all the bugs with the heal prevention, mainly Nick Fury, that they're just taking heal prevention out of it, since it was essentially if you got comboed, you were dead anyways, no matter how high of a champion you brought in. So I'm hoping they feel like heal prevention isn't needed. As far as the mini boss swaps, across the board, it looks like the bosses are just going to get harder. I could make an argument for like if you're running map 1, Guillotine for Diablo's not going to be too bad in general. Vision for Namor is going to be okay as long as you're not like trying to intercept, but if you're running map 2, you're probably not intercepting too much, so Namor might actually be easier in that regard. For map 3, I do think Squirrel Girl is going to be easier than King Groot, so I guess I'll retract. The first 3 maps, all of these boss changes are pretty reasonable, but as soon as you hit map 4, I think Silver Surfer, like my gut instinct is to say Silver Surfer will be harder than Proxima Midnight, just off of base champion. And for map 5, Human Torch and Mr. Fantastic might like appearingly look easier than the Hyperion and the Scarlet Witch, which were essentially just roster specific matchups, but it just depends on what the nodes break down to, and we'll take a look at those in a moment. But definitely for sure on map 6, Dormammu for Nova and Ebony Maw for Invisible Woman. I think both Ebony Maw and Dormammu were like fairly easy fights. At least that was my approach on it, and I think Invisible Woman and Nova are going to be a bit more restrictive. And while Omega Red was a frustration mini boss, I'm sure, for map 7, I can only speculate that Thing is going to be more challenging, because like Omega Red, you could just bring a robot and then like meme the fight, but I'm not too sure. I don't run map 7, so I can only speak from like a speculated version. So if you run map 7, feel free to comment and let me know your thoughts, so I can give a proper opinion there. I'll just touch on like some of these champions here. So it does look like Silver Surfer is going to have Rich Get Richer Personal Space, and buff duration. So I'm not too familiar with these nodes, so we'll have to wait and see where it comes out, or if someone is more informed on those. And again, yeah, we see like Human Torch, he's going to have bleed immune, so that could be potentially frustrating, as well as spontaneous and combustion. So unfortunately, I don't see any node information on these champions. So I can't really give too many comments on that for like the mini bosses. I wish I could, but I think that'll be more of a ask me after we've seen the mini bosses kind of a question across the board. And if people can send me map 5 information for the Human Torch and the Mr. Fantastic, I would love it, just so that I can kind of like wrap my head around it, as well as like map 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm not as interested in, but I do like to keep touch on, just for like a relative awareness of where like all the levels of the game are. As far as like the rest of the changes to map 6, I hate the idea of variation. Like the person, the player inside of me loves the concept of variation and thinks that could add a lot of fun to the game. The person who has to do map 6 at work and isn't seeing like an energy refresh here, or any kind of way to make this easier on people who are like trying to run higher maps and pushing a lot of energy, variation just makes it harder with no like added benefit. And I guess you could make the argument that this variation and added difficulty matches hand in hand with the rewards buff, which we'll talk about soon. But it doesn't feel like a quality of life change. I think the impression is they want to make it more active, more interactive, and more fun. And to me, it just makes it worse, because like I would love to see Alliance Quest be harder. I would love to see it be more varied, more difficult, overall like change on a week-to-week basis. I would love that. But in order to do that, what I really, really, really want to see is more energy and like 8 paths at most, so that people can double up and you're not like forced to solo a path, and like really give alliances the ability to tackle it from like a flexible standpoint instead of a locked standpoint. And when you run a locked standpoint, variation in the maps makes it much, much, much harder. Next up on the new minions, I want to say I'm not a huge fan of hearing the word Doombots across the board. I mean, if it's good for champions like Medusa, but as an Omega Red player myself, Doombots implies to me robots, and that's just gonna nerf Omega Red's value in Alliance Quest. You're still bringing other champions, so you can use them in those fights, but at least the Symbioids week gave you a week where you could use Omega Red and like Blade with his bleed. So yeah, not too crazy there, as long as like hopefully we see information on the Doombots and they're not like hidden information, so we're not trying to guess who they are. But overall, I hate the minions. Like, I don't see any purpose to them because the minions are essentially stand-ins for champions in the game. They just pwn other people's abilities. They're not anything unique, and they're all different depending on the class, and it's just really frustrating for me because I don't take the time to sit down and memorize them, and most people, I feel, don't take the time to sit down and memorize what they are, and so it's just extra work. I'm not a fan, I gotta say, but hey, it is cool. If we're gonna have minions to begin with, it's nice to get some different variation of it, or different iteration here. As far as modifiers go, I think it's really cool that they're adding them, but this is the variation in map 6 that they're talking about. So right now, if you're running modifiers as an alliance, you're probably running the same modifier every single week, or you're running 5 different modifiers every single day to get the most amount of points, or one modifier every day for a total of 5 modifiers. And what that allowed you to do as an alliance was like maximize your rotation, and players could get comfortable with the modifiers by making it 5 modifiers every week, and it's random out of the 8. Alliances are going to have to get comfortable, and they're not going to be able to. And again, in something where there's like energy restrictions and you're time gated, and people are already running into frustrations with it as is, I just feel like this is an unnecessary change. I feel like adding additional modifiers to select from was really, really cool, and making it so it's 5 out of 8, no problem. Just match it with like, knock the energy timer down to 50 minutes or something to accommodate. I feel like an energy reduction timer is something people have been asking for like multiple seasons of Alliance Quest. So yeah, but as far as the nodes themselves, nothing too crazy here, right? At least nothing crazier than what they are already, right? Like the normal buffs here, crit resistance, energy resistance, power focus 2, those are all super, reasonable. Heroic buffs, force of will, hit me, I dare you, and tranquility, also all super reasonable. I think maybe the hit me, I dare you will cause a little bit of frustration just in tankiness, but still overall a fairly reasonable set of buffs. And then explosive personality, kinetic transference, and personal space. Personally, I don't feel like these are any more challenging than the nodes we already have, so it's not that big of a deal overall. It just adds a little bit of variation and a little more difficulty, and in my opinion, honestly, more work for the Alliance officer team. So shout out to your officers in your Alliance for all the hard work they do. So that said, at this point, I'll stick a timestamp in the description to go over rewards. So the way I've done this spreadsheet is, just for the record, like this isn't raw value. This is the increase in rewards. So I'll add that to the title so people can know, like, increase. So when like you see a 0 here, that doesn't mean you're not getting any of that. It just means that from last season to this season, you're getting 0. Just saying. So like as far as glory across the board, 0 change. At least from what I saw. If I missed it here or there, like, I mostly skimmed it, but if there's a change, feel free to correct me. But yeah, across the board, 0. The Rank 1 Alliance is getting an additional 8% Tier 5 class catalyst, which is just full on being added. Before, you didn't get any Tier 5 class catalyst. Now you're getting 8%. In the top 2 to 5, you're getting 6%, 6 to 10, 4%, and 11 to 22%. And like, this is just garbage. Look, I get it. I understand Tier 5 class catalyst is like the restricted, limited, juicy item in the game. But like, they could have at least spread this up to, I'd say like the top 90, like the top 20. This is your whale tier alliances, these are your pay to win players. And like, there might be a free to play player here or there, and maybe even a good handful of pay to play players. But like, if you're in the top 20 for Alliance Quest, you're probably full whale. So again, it just feels like more Tier 5 class catalysts for the whale level player. And I'm not even trying to push for Tier 5 class catalysts in the free to play realm, which for the record, I think it belongs there. But like, I just feel like it's kind of a slap in the face. Like, I think it would have been totally reasonable to do like 10% for rank 1, 8% for 2 through 5, 8% for 6 through 10, 6% for 11 through 20, 4% for 21 through 30, and then 2% for the next two categories. And you would have hit a much larger percentage of the players. You know, we're hitting like 4.5 times as many alliances. But hey, if you're in a top 20 alliance and you're collecting these tier 5 class catalysts and you're not spending at least $100 a month, feel free to comment and let me know. Say, hey, no, Jay, I'm a pay-to-play player. I'm not pay-to-win, and I'm collecting that tier 5 class catalyst. I'd love to be informed. But just from my perspective, I think that the tier 5 class catalyst could have been spread out a bit more. Again, I don't think they needed to increase the amounts. I think small percentages on a weekly basis is perfectly reasonable for the current state of the game. I just feel like it could have been spread out farther. As far as tier 5 basics, this is where it gets kind of wacky. I had to like double, triple check my math, so feel free to correct me if you notice a mistake. But the rank 1 alliance is getting an additional 5,000, and then the rank 2 alliance is getting an additional 10,000. And then from there it goes 10,000, 9,000, 8,000, 7,000, 6,000, 5,000 for the top 90. And then 91 to 150, you're like, oh, it's going down by 1,000 every time, plus 2,000. And again, like about up to like 1 through 90, those alliances, those are like your hardcore grinders slash pay-to-play players slash maybe a handful or a smattering of free-to-play players. But after like rank 90 in Alliance Quest, we're really talking about pay-to-play, free-to-play window here. So to see like a 3,000 drop in tier 5 basic, you know, specifically at this window, I'm like, hey, Kabam, I'm calling you out on your shit. You didn't get past me, man. You didn't get past me. I saw this BS, and I'm calling you out. So, fix your rewards spreading out. I just don't think you're balancing it properly. But again, you know, subject to opinion. But it is 2,000 across the board for the next 6 sections of rank, and then 500 for specifically 1701 to 2200, and then 250 for the next 4. And notably, 4201 to 4,900 is getting 250 tier 5 basic, where they weren't getting it before. So this did extend a little bit farther. As far as tier 2 alpha, again, I had to like double, triple check my math, because rank 1 is getting 10,000 additional tier 2 alpha, but rank 2 through 5 is getting 15,000 additional tier 2 alpha. And granted, rank 1 is still getting more tier 2 alpha across the board. It's just kind of like one of those things that makes you scratch your head a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. But then it goes 15,000, 15,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 for the next 4. And then again, kabam, this is garbage. From the 90th rank alliance to rank 91, it goes from a 10,000 increase in tier 2 alpha to a 2,000 increase in tier 2 alpha. I see your shit, kabam, and I'm calling BS. Next up, from the 801 alliance moving down, we see a 4,000 increase in tier 2 alpha, and then it drops back down to a 1,000 increase that straddles all the way down increase, and then the 9,301 to 11,000 alliance is getting 500, where they weren't getting tier 2 alpha before. And again, keep in mind, these are rewards spread out, so like each rank higher is still getting more tier 2 alpha than the one below it. So even when you see these like anomalies, like 501 to 800 is still getting more tier 2 alpha than 801 to 1200 is really just closing the bridge. It's just kind of one of those things that's just like weird, you know, more than anything else. That's just how reward structure works. And then for tier 4 class catalyst, starting at 91 to 150, we see about a 1 increase in tier 4 class catalyst. It drops to 0.8 and then drops hard to 0.3 and then sticks at a 0.1 increase across the board. And then in tier 4 basic, it does a similar thing, starting at 2, dropping to like some really strange numbers, essentially 1, essentially 0.9, essentially 0.8, all the way down to a 0 increase at the bottom, and then gold was unchanged. So that is the rank reward. Sorry for swearing. Just kind of strange. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Next up is the glory store. So for uncollected, I have a quick note is that the greater glory crystal was removed. At least I don't see it in the glory store. If it's there and I'm missing it, let me know. But from my perspective, it was removed for a concept. The value normalized to 50 glory. reason for the normalization there. It was 1,440 tier 4 class catalysts for 50 glory. From there, we don't see any change in the tier 1 through tier 3 class catalysts. Tier 1 alpha remains the same. For tier 4 basic, it costs 20 less for the first one. Might cost less after that one, but it's at least 20 less for the first one. For the 3,600 tier 4 class catalyst, it's minus 100 for the first one. Might be less, but I forgot to check. For the tier 4, there's now a whole tier 4 class catalyst crystal, which has a net worth of 5,142.9 fragments per 50 glory. Notably more than you were getting for the greater glory crystal, so that's really, really nice. So you can get a whole tier 4 class catalyst. That feels really good. The tier 2 alpha and tier 5 basic values were changed, but the cost was not. So the tier 2 alpha, you're now getting 4 times as much value and 2 times as much on the tier 5 basic, and then everything else, potions, gold crystal, team revives, was not changed. So overall, really, really exciting. I think everybody who's uncollected and cavalier and above can like say we're really, really psyched about this like middle increase in change. I think like the notable thing I have is I would personally like to see like tier 1 through tier 3 class catalysts dropped in price even at this level, just because like honestly, at this level, you don't really need them, so you're only doing it and buying them to save yourself time and effort. And I would like to see that be there from Kabam. And then also, like, I would love to see these potions, gold crystals, and team revives cost less. Like, the fact that this hasn't changed is just like, I don't know, a little weird. And like, I think 3 seasons these haven't changed. So I'd like to see that just a little bit, or at least make it so like it's the same cost each potion, so you don't have to log in and buy one every day or something like that. And then finally, the glory store for normal. So if you're not uncollected, again, you don't see any change in cost from tier 1 class catalysts, but additionally, there's no change in cost for the tier 1 alpha and no change in cost for the tier 4 basic. For the 3,600 tier 4 class catalyst, it costs 60, at least on your first one. And then for the greater glory crystal, notably 7,200 tier 4 class catalysts, I did do this one, so it's 130 less for your first one, 210 less for your second one, 290 less for your third one, 370 less for your fourth one, and 450 less for your fifth one. So essentially what they've said is people who are not uncollected are looking for tier 4 class catalysts. That's probably what you're buying the most of in the glory store, and they've made you like have this strong incentive to buy multiple, which is really, 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 really nice. Although I do think a tier 1 alpha and tier 4 basic reduction in cost would have been really nice as well, because those are super good for players who are not uncollected yet as well. Granted that the arena is not as easy for them to farm. And then again, no change on potions, gold crystals, and team revives. So overall, that is a Lion's Quest Season 7. Overall, some really, really solid things. My opinion is that this was a great increase. I think that Kabam has really, really crushed it. If I had to say, like, am I happy or am I sad? I'd say I'm happy. I think that I'm always the kind of person who's like, hey, there's definitely some discrepancies here and there that are like really, really noticeable, as well as like some minor complaints I have. But if this is the only change that goes through and people don't make any fuss about the complaints I do have, I'm not going to be upset. That said, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.